Welcome to Shaky Sports Journeys. It has been a while, almost a year it has been since I recorded my last podcast. So very excited to be back in the podcast chair. And also, I thought it was what got me going and got me excited to get back was it's a certain T20 World Cup season. The sun is shining in Scotland, doesn't happen very often. Hopefully it'll be shining come Tuesday as well. But we're here today to preview a certain fixture that's coming up between the old enemy, Scotland and England. And who better to come on as a special guest? Presenter for Sky Sports for many years. Cricket fans will be very familiar with him. I say hello to Matt Kabir. Floyd, how are you, my friend?
I'm very good, Kazim. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Great to look ahead to the big one, the old enemy back together.
Back together. Last time they were together, Matt, I don't know if you remember. I think it was 2018. And Scotland won that day. Do you remember that game? And remember where you were?
Did you win? I can't remember that one. Yeah, yeah. Listen, what a day that was at the Grange. Extraordinary game. I do remember that was my last year at Sky as staff. I remember, and my boss, he's Scottish actually. Brian Emerson who's the head of cricket at the time. So I just remember the banter. Yeah, he was about as loud as he's ever been, to be honest. But no, they richly deserved that one. That was a great victory. I think we'll be hearing more from him again if they win this one too. But I don't know, mate. I don't know. I fancy England. We'll get into it.
We'll get into it. T20 World Cup is already underway. I'm not sure how much you've managed to catch of it so far, but the opening game, United States of America announcing themselves in the World Cup, taking on Canada, which was also a bit of I'd imagine a bit of a feisty affair between both countries, a bit similar to Scotland, England, or Pakistan, India, and a certain Aaron Jones he's been the man of the moment so far. He is the talking point in this World Cup. Was it 94 or 40 odd balls that he scored? Did you see the innings?
Oh yeah, it was first of all, it was a really good game. Like I really enjoyed the game. It was pretty closely matched, barring that amazing Aaron Jones innings. I thought it was reasonably closely matched. It's probably better standard than I thought it would be, to be honest. I was quite impressed with the fact that both sides had some decent paced bowlers. Canada had three guys who were, 80 mile an hour and up. Nicholas Curtin, he's a good player for Canada. I've seen him before because he's been involved with the Barbados setup for a while. I've been over there working a little bit. He played very, very nicely indeed. The pitch was really good as well, wasn't it? The big concern was the pitch, but actually so far, in what we've seen, the pitch in America, the one at Grand Prairie, has been a lot better than the two that we saw in Barbados and Guyana, which is a bit of a surprise. So we've got a high-scoring, really good game. And Aaron Jones, small guy, but he packs a punch, doesn't he? Those were big sixes he was hitting. They weren't just going over the road. Out the ground, some of them, I think he hit at least one over 100 meters, which is a huge hit. Plays a slog sweep really, really well. He looks a little gem for them. Without him, America would have lost that game. They were behind the 8 ball. They were 2 down, maybe off 8 overs. What were they on? About 50 or so, I think.
Yeah, he dug them out of a hole. He dug them out of a hole. It wasn't. He came in at a time when they were in trouble.
Ended up winning convincingly, 2 or 3 overs to go. But at one stage, I was thinking, Canada are going to cause an upset here. I didn't think they were going to certainly knock it off with 2, 3 overs to go. But that's what can happen in T20. One guy gets hot and he can take the game away from you. I think Canada's bowling was obviously a little bit wayward. You could see that USA was just a bit more organised. Maybe the bowling was a little bit tighter and a bit more savvy than Canada. But I kind of wanted Canada to win in some ways. You always want the underdog to win, and they'd lost 4-0 to the USA in a bilateral series that had just gone by. But no, I thought it was a great way to kick off the tournament. I mean, the crowd wasn't full, which was a bit disappointing. It probably looked to me about 70% full or something like that. I mean, having said that, crowds weren't great in Guyana and Barbados either, and West Indies were playing in Guyana. So that to me is always a bit of an issue. You have a World Cup somewhere, you want stands to be full for most games, really. I think you have one in England, for example, and Scotland, you'd have close to full grounds, or you'd have full grounds in every game. But unfortunately, we're not going to get that in the Caribbean or in America.
Yeah. Don't you think it's amazing that we're talking about a World Cup and the excitement has come so far from USA and Canada? That's ultimately what a World Cup is all about. You get these news stories, you get these countries that go, somebody's going to take this World Cup by storm. Maybe it'll be the USA. Maybe they'll take down one of the giants. Do you find that exciting? Does that get you going to see countries beyond the big test playing nations making a name for themselves?
Oh yeah, massively. That's what the World Cup's all about, isn't it? I mean, it was ridiculous when they scaled it back all those years ago. Now I think they've seen the folly of their ways and they've decided to expand it again. I think 20 teams is a really good number because you get a decent number of associate sides. You only get the cream of the crop in terms of the non-members, and ones that hopefully, can cause a bit of an upset. I wouldn't count out any of the smaller sides that we're going to see in this World Cup. For example, you look at England's group, England and Scotland. Scotland very capable, we know, of beating England or Australia. Namibia look a decent side. They could upset someone. David Visa, we saw him getting them over the line against Oman. Even Oman, I guess, would be, of all of those sides, would be the least likely to cause an upset. But they played on a slow pitch against Namibia at Barbados, and they look dangerous on a slow pitch. I think the bigger sides won't find it that simple if they play on those kind of pitches with all of their spinners and pace off. Batting will be the issue for them, I guess. But yeah, I'm really excited. I'm doing Papua New Guinea, Uganda as my first game on radio commentary for BBC, which I'm really, really looking forward to. Uganda, I have not seen before live, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what they're about. That's a massive story, isn't it? Uganda beating Zimbabwe, out qualifying Zimbabwe from the Africa qualifier, which is amazing. It's the first time for them in it. Papua New Guinea I've seen before, but only once. They were part of a World Cup. Which one was it? Can't quite remember, but it was a few years ago when they had the preliminary group phase. They were part of that. But they've got a few of the same players actually from that last World Cup that they were in, but they're still a bit of an unknown quantity. So really excited about that game. For me, it's all about that. The World Cup, really, you've got to have those smaller sides playing, and no one wants to go and see just the 12 top sides in the world playing. We can see that at any time. You might as well expand it, play it this way. I like it with the group phase, and then going into a Super 8s, so you get 3 games if you're a smaller side, a chance to knock out, well, in this case you get 4 games, don't you? A chance to knock out a bigger side. I think that's the right way to do it, and hopefully we'll get 1 or 2 upsets. Hopefully not Scotland, England, but, but maybe we'll get Ireland or someone.
I was about to probe you and say, are you hoping for an upset in that one? But no, I didn't. I don't think that's one that you'll be wanting an upset from. Me, on the other hand, will be sitting on the other side. You mentioned there's been a few other games. David Visa winning in a heroic fashion, pretty much taking over the Super Over, bowling and batting, got his team over the line. And yesterday, the West Indies had a bit of a scare against PNG, and Roston Chase played extremely well to dig them out of what I think they needed about 40 off the last 4 overs in the end. So you might be in for a good game. PNG against Uganda coming up. So, another good, sounds like it might be another exciting match. And yeah, unbelievable that we're talking about Uganda knocking Zimbabwe from out of the competition. It's who would have thought it? Let's get into this fixture that's coming up tomorrow. Now, it doesn't matter what sport it is. When Scotland play against England in any sport, there's always bragging rights are there. The old enemy. We love you, really. We love each other, really. There's a lot of camaraderie there.
Do you? Do you love us?
Yeah, no, why not? There's no. It's just when it comes to sport, the rivalry and the competition is just there. Now, Kensington Oval is the venue for the. Now, my understanding of the Kensington Oval is that it's got a bit in it for everybody. They always describe it as there's a bit in it for the batters, but there's also a bit in it for the bowlers. What do you think on your thought? Have you been over there? Have you been in attendance at the ground?
Yeah, I've been there a few times actually. I was there for the 2007 World Cup final, back in the day. That was the first time I went there when Adam Gilchrist smashed that brilliant, I can't remember what he got in the end, but brilliant innings where he had the squash ball in his glove.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's
Against
right.
Sri Lanka. Brilliant final that was. Wasn't it the best World Cup, but it was exciting to be there, sure. The pitch has changed, I think, a little bit. Back in those days, the pitch was very good. I was a bit concerned by what I saw yesterday in that Namibia Oman game because it looked pretty slow and a little bit too paced. And I looked into it, and actually, I don't think the pitch has been used for about 3 months or so. So the groundsman hasn't had much of an opportunity to get some grass on it, prepare it properly by all accounts. Yeah, it looked a little bit not exactly what you would want for a World Cup game. Be interesting to see how it plays with faster bowlers on it. Obviously, Namibia, a couple of quicks, but Oman didn't have any quick bowlers, so they look quite hard to get away. The guys that are operating at about 70 mile an hour or so.
Yeah, it might
Hopefully,
be a
we'll get
bit
a
more
slightly better
interesting. We've
pitch for
seen
the
a couple
Scotland
of
game.
guys bowling 90 plus. And we've got one as well, actually. So I'll tell you a bit more about him. But you've obviously with England, they've got extreme pace. Do you think it's going to? Do you get the impression it's going to misbehave?
I think it could be too paced, and in that case, if I was England, I would go with both of the real quick men. I would play Wood and Archer as long as they're okay physically, haven't got any niggles. Obviously, they've got to wrap Archer in a little bit of cotton wool from time to time. But I would try and play the two of them against the smaller sides more than against the biggest sides, actually, because I think if you play Wood and Archer against sides that aren't used to that kind of pace, they can win you a game pretty quickly. I think also on a two-paced wicket, those guys are very difficult, right? Someone like Mark Wood in particular, so skiddy. If one just sort of pops up and then one skids through really fast, and he was bowling at 96 mile an hour against Pakistan, the final T20 the other day. So if you've got a two-pace wicket, the quicker you bowl, the harder it can be. I would be tempted if I was England to play both Wood and Archer against Scotland, probably alongside Topley. So you've got the left arm seamer as well, and then save Chris Jordan for the next game, because Jordan obviously you need for your death bowling skills. But it'll be interesting to see what they do. I think their initial plan wasn't to have Wood and Archer in their sort of starting 11, their main 11, and rotate them both because of their injury history. But they're going to have to play the odd game together. I think no time like the present. Stick him in against Scotland and see if you boys can play some chin music.
I was gonna say, Matt, you're not playing your cards close to your chest, really, are you? Let's just get the two boys that bowl 95 clicks and higher, get them in against Scotland, get them in early, and get them tried and tested. Look, it was incredible to see both of them in the same team against Pakistan there, and you can just see the difference it makes. That extreme pace. We're not talking late 80s here, mid 80s. We're talking extreme pace, kind of getting closer to the Brett Lee, Shoaib Akhtar kind of paces that we used to see back then. So yeah, good luck to the Scottish batters if they do opt for both Archer and Wood, and it'll be interesting to see how the pitch plays. Just while we're talking about the England bowling, the guy for me that is going to be just crucial to their chances in this World Cup, he's fantastic. The kind of journey and trajectory he's been on is Adil Rashid, is the kind of mystery that England have. And you've seen it against Pakistan. Both times he came on, Pakistan in the first T20 had kind of regained and started getting a bit of momentum. Adil came on and stumbled that. And then they were going pretty well in the second one, and Adil came on and he stumbled that again. He's crucial to England's chances in this World Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually think Adil doesn't really get enough credit, to be honest with you, on the international scene. He's not someone who tends to get picked up in big franchise tournaments, and he hasn't played much in the IPL. I think he was picked up once and featured in one game, perhaps for the Sunrisers. I think he played, and that was it. But in my mind, he's one of the best spinners in world cricket, T20 cricket. His record will tell you that. Just for some reason, never quite fancied on the world stage. But he's crucial for England, because if you look at the other spinners that we've got, a lot of part-timers in there. He's going to play every game, Adil, and then it'll be part-timers fitting in around him. Livingston, Ali, Will Jacks. Tom Hartley might get the odd game if it's a really slow pitch, but I don't think he'll play too much. So you're heavily reliant then on your one frontline spinner. You know, other teams have got two frontline spinners. So West Indies, for example, have got the two left arm spinners, Akil Hossain and Gudakesh Moti. India are packed full of frontline spinners. They've got four, I think, in their squad that you would term frontline spinners. So England have gone with just one. I thought they might take Rehan Ahmed, to be honest with you. I thought they might take two leggies, but they've decided they only need one. There is a lot on Adil Rashid's shoulders. He looked good against Pakistan. The good news for England is they bowled really well in those two Pakistan games. You know, going into those games, I wasn't quite sure what we'd see. It's really encouraging to see the bowling attack really on top form, because that's going to be absolutely key in the Caribbean. You know, the batting, it's always going to be explosive. That top four there, they're all in good form. Salt, Bairstow, Butler, and Jacks all hit centuries in the IPL, right? So those four guys should be in good form. All four of them can take any game away from any opposition. Maybe a slight question mark, I would say, with the form of the guys that are going to come in 5, 6, 7 with the bat, Moeen and Liam Livingstone. Slightly concerned about that. But the bowling attack looks in good order. I'm happy with that. And Adil Rashid is absolutely crucial. If the pitches are going to be as slow as we've seen so far in Guyana and Barbados, it's going to be even more important.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you touched on England's batting there. Butler coming back into form just at the peak, just at the start of the tournament, and Salt, both of them together look like a formidable force if they get going. You know, I'm excited about this England team. I think, you know, after a very tough 50-over World Cup where they pretty much, people didn't know what happened to them almost. They just seemed to lose all that momentum they had under the kind of Owen Morgan era, and winning a World Cup as well. But they just look like they've got a lot of bases covered. You're right, that kind of middle order in the batting will be, you know, Brook, big World Cup for Brook as well. I think how he comes, because he's going to be crucial for them in the middle overs. But the top four, you know, they're all looking like they're going into this tournament in serious form. Very good fielding unit as well. I mean, with guys like Jordan, Salt, they're rapid over the grass. You've seen it in the Pakistan games. So I think England are looking really exciting. And I'm talking them up big time here, going into about to play against Cricket Scotland. Just to give you a bit of...
The only thing I am concerned about with England is the exact same thing that happened in the 50-over World Cup. Ireland going into this a bit undercooked. Now, I know they look good against Pakistan, but they only got 2 games. They were relying heavily on getting 4 games there. They brought players out the IPL to play those 4 games. The English weather did them over. Famous old English weather, so they only got 2 games in the end, and they haven't played many T20 internationals in the last cycle. You know, since the last T20 World Cup, they've played a lot less than some of their competitors. You know, the likes of India, they've played a lot more games, those sides. So I'm slightly concerned they might be a little bit undercooked, and it's all going to be on the first couple of games. You know, I think with England, if they come in, they smash Scotland, and they get off to a good start, they might have momentum there, and you can see them getting on a roll and beating anyone. But equally, that memory of the 50-over World Cup is so fresh in the mind, and it was such a strange capitulation out of nowhere, wasn't it? Really, no one saw it. If England have a bad start here and get upset somewhere, or don't play well against Australia, there is a bit of a worry, I think, in a lot of England fans' heads that things could spiral, you know, that the wheels could come off again. So it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of an England we see. I think they have left themselves open to criticism. If England have a bad World Cup here, people are going to point fingers at Matthew Mott and Joss Butler again and saying, well, look, you know, you haven't played many games. Preparation wasn't very good. So I hope that's not the case, but that is my concern.
Well, getting on to the Cricket Scotland team then, if I was giving a team talk, I'd be saying all of that and some more and saying, get stuck into these boys, because, you know, pressure does funny things. Expectations sometimes of the bigger, you know, we forget the expectations that are on these guys' shoulders. Cricket Scotland squad coming into this don't have that, I don't think, that same kind of pressure. Of course they don't. They're coming in as underdogs. But, you know, there's no reason why you can't punch above your weight. Just to touch on a bit about the Cricket Scotland team. Now, you mentioned Archer and Wood. I don't know if you've come across Chris Soul as yet. He bowls at 90 miles per hour. He can get it up above there. Bowled in the qualifiers for the 50 over World Cup, which Scotland just missed out on against the Dutch. But he was kind of the standout for Scotland up top. You know, they'll rely on him. Although last couple of games I've been noticing he's been getting used as kind of first or second change. But I hope they will open up with him against England, because I think it's very crucial that they try and break that early opening partnership, at least, because if Buttler and Salt get going, we've seen against Pakistan as well, they can just take the game away from the opposition. So I'm excited to see how Sol does. And then if you've come across Mark Watt, he's been playing quite a few World
Cups. Of course, now.
Yeah. He's what we'll hope. Not quite a mystery like Adil Rashid is, but he bowls the 24-yarder. He likes to take his notes out during his overs to make sure he's following the plan. He's a crucial part of Scotland's attack, and he never has that fear on the big stage. He's always seemed to handle the pressure, which is always what Scotland and the teams like the Associates are up against when they go against the big test playing nations. Is can they handle the big occasion? They don't get it very often, but I'm confident these boys have done it a few times now, and they'll be good. They'll be good to go. And just on the batting front, you look at the Scotland batting lineup. You're looking at kind of hoping again the top 3-4. I don't know how they will go, but George Munsey will definitely open the batting. Left-handed batter, likes to hit the ball hard, loves a reverse sweep. I wonder if you'll get that out against Adil Rashid come tomorrow. And then you've got Jones, who plays for Durham. Very, very handy, accomplished batsman. There's a young lad, Charlie Tier. I think he's plays a bit with Sussex, who's coming in, who's come fresh from the Under-19 World Cup, doing well for Scotland. So he's not done much on the big stage yet, but I'm quite keen to see them bleed a youngster and get him in there against England. Just chuck him in and see how he does. And then through the middle order, our kind of Harry Brooks style player, I'd say, is probably a guy called Michael Leask, who likes to hit the ball quite long. Hasn't been in the best of form coming in. This is my concern. You were talking about the England batters being a bit undercooked. I feel like one or two of our batters are coming into this game in really good form, but some of them I've not seen enough to think they're really ready to go, and that worries me coming into an opening fixture against a bowling attack that's not going to give you much time to have a sighter or two. You're going to be coming up against it from ball one. What do you think would be, how would you say Scotland has a chance? What would you think their best plan would be to try and win a game like this and cause a massive upset?
Yeah, good question, that really. Well, first of all, I would hope if I was Scotland for a slower pitch. I think actually a slower pitch would help rather than a flat road, because I think England could just batter them into submission if that's the case. So I think you want to have a slightly slower pitch where spinners and the pace-off bowlers can be very, very useful. I agree. I think Mark Watt's key. He looks really awkward bowler to face when he's on form with his angle. You know, he's quick through the air. Angle sort of comes into the right-handers pads, doesn't it? Can be difficult. Not a big turner of the ball, is he? But he's just one of these spin bowlers who's awkward because of his angle and his control and his variation, and he is quick through the air. Sol, I'm looking forward to seeing Sol. Really am, because I've heard a lot about it. I've seen him a bit on TV, obviously here and there. I know he's got pace. I wonder though whether it might be the sort of slower seamers, you know, who might be trickier for England if it's a slower pitch. You know, Sharif, McMullen, he bowls a bit of seam, doesn't he? You know, those kind of guys who could be more tricky to get away. You know, I always think if Scotland are going to upset England, I think they want to. You know, they want to make England feel uncomfortable. They want to crowding. You want to have, you know, slow, accurate seamers bowling wicket to wicket, keeper up to the stumps, spinners on, bowling the right length, hard to get away. You know, England have just come from IPL. A lot of their batters, right? They've come from decks where people are scoring 280. Right, they're top four. They aren't going to want to nurdle around and get to 150 on a tough pitch. So I think Scotland's best bet really is to have a slower pitch and play with the England top four or top six egos and just got a really good back of a length
A bit like
length.
PNG, a bit like PNG did to West Indies yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think Scotland bowlers, most of them have got a little bit more heat than what the PNG bowlers were bowling with, but it was just how simple they kept the game. They just bowled stump to stump, and it caused problems.
Exactly. That's how you beat a big side. You know, West Indies have got so many big power hitters, and look how they struggled to get to 140 or something. In fact, you know, they needed 30 off 3 overs, and really Chase and Russell bailed them out a bit at the end. You know, they had an over to spare. So I think that's how they beat England. Whether you want to put runs on the board if you win the toss,
that's what I was going to ask
if
you
you're
next.
Scotland, yeah. I mean, look, if it's a slower pitch, dew is obviously a factor, isn't it? Dew. If there is a bit of dew around, I'm not sure there is too much in Barbados. We saw obviously 109 plays 109, so that doesn't bode particularly well for the pitch or for England. I would say probably I would want to chase if I was Scotland.
Okay, no problem.
I would want England to bat on the pitch first. If it's a pitch like the one we saw in Namibia against Oman, if it's slow, I'd put England into bat. I would get my bowlers to bowl just back of a leg, hard length to hit, get the fielders in the right position, stump to stump, spinners on quite early, and see if England have got it in them to knuckle down, try and get up to a score of about 160 or something like that, 170. Or are they going to go out there and play like they've been playing on the roads in the IPL and risk, you know, getting 130, 140, and then Scotland are reliant on one of their top 4 or 5 playing a big innings. If you're chasing 140, 150, and someone gets a 50 in the top 4, you've got a good chance, right? So that would be my mode of doing it for Scotland, but they can do it the other way as well, can't they? Of course, you know.
I see where you're coming from, but I'd go the other way. I like runs on the board.
Yeah.
I think scoreboard pressure, if you can get a couple of wickets early, starts to just look, oh, that's still a bit away.
Yeah.
But you know, you can look at it. You can look at it. My fear is that England come out in the first 6 overs and take the game away early. That's my fear. And
Okay, so
whereas if Scotland get in, and even if they can get a 140, 130 to 140 plus, don't know what the wicket's going to play like. You never know. Manage to get a few wickets in the middle, and you get a bit of that momentum. But you can look at it either way, can't you? Whatever. But I think we're both getting at Scotland's best chance is to squeeze. To try and squeeze the game, slow it down as much as possible. You know, a player that you mentioned there is somebody I'm very excited about. Don't know if you've seen much from the qualifiers. Brandon McMullen. He was kind of a standout. Not been in the best of form. He's not been scoring the level of runs, or his bowling has not been as effective recently. I'm still hoping he'll find form, because he's really important, especially I think on the Caribbean conditions. His bowling and his batting style is crucial. I'm hoping he's going to come good.
I made a mistake in the flat.
For a little bit, yeah. When was it when Scotland knocked West Indies out of the World Cup?
Yeah.
And he played really well, didn't he? He got a lot of early wickets in that qualifying, nips the ball around, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He looks a sort of English type conditions, you know, a Scottish English type conditions bowler, someone who finds something in the pitch and he can seam it around. He looks a good batter as well. I think he got a 90 odd not out, didn't he? In one of those games, one of those qualifiers.
As well, I'm sure, against
100. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
I need to double check. I think it was Zimbabwe, but if I've got that wrong, apologies. But I'm pretty sure he got 100. And he's just a very accomplished player. He
saw them home, didn't he?
Years ago to play for Scotland. But he's a standout. And then you've got the captain as well, who we haven't touched on, Richie Berrington. It's a big World Cup for Richie. I hope he'll have he's coming to the back end of his career now, and I'm hoping that he can have a big World Cup, because on his day he's also a really good player of in the middle overs as well. He can kind of attack against the spin, use his feet. But again, using your feet against a deal and putting him under pressure is not going to be easy.
what's his bowling like these days? Is he going to bowl?
He doesn't look like he's bowled for a while now. I think those days have maybe have gone. He's got lots of options as well now. There's a lot. I reckon he bowled a bit more when Scotland had less at their bowling depth, but still a very good fielder at his age. So he's an important part of the squad, and I hope he finds form in this tournament, because it'll be crucial to Scotland's chances. Okay, so final predictions. You've given how we think Scotland could win. What's your prediction for this game then?
Oh, I tell you what, it's all going to be pitch dependent. I am slightly worried of having seen that pitch, so I'm hoping that either that was a different pitch to the one that England and Scotland are going to play on, and they've got a much better pitch lined up on the square. I'm not too hopeful about that. Or B, that just what we saw was largely more down to the players on show in Namibia and Oman. And they made it look really tough out there. It'd be interesting to see whether that happens. You know, easily England and Scotland could go out there and have a high-scoring game. You never know. I just hope the pitch it has got a bit more pace on it. I think Scotland will play well. I think they'll push England, but England will still win by 150 runs.
100. Ooh.
That was a joke, mate. That was a complete joke. Come on.
Okay,
I'm winding up. No, I think it's gonna be close. I do actually. I think England. You know, it's a good time to play them. They haven't played much cricket. Of course, England could go there and blow them away. You know that could happen if they play as well as they did against Pakistan. I think they could do that, but they haven't had a warm-up game in the Caribbean. I know Scotland also got similar problems, right? But both sides will be coming in fresh to new conditions, so anything can happen, really. I think England will win, but I don't think it'll be a complete hammering, put it that way. I think they'll have to just sort of work hard for this one. That's my prediction.
Okay. I'm getting slightly nervous vibes from the English camp here on this podcast. I'm getting that, you're going into a tournament, big tournament again, massive expectations on your shoulders. The nation expects that England should get to the semi-final or the final of the competition. And I'm going to be bold and say, I agree with you. I think everything you mentioned about squeezing and just, get the keeper up, start to build a bit of I'm going to say that it's going to be one of the great upsets in cricket history. And I'm going to say that Scotland are going to win a reasonably low-scoring affair, where I think they'll... I'm not going to say whether they bat first or they bowl first, because my prediction could go out the window before the game starts. But a low-scoring game that squeaky bump time's just going to start coming for England. Moeen Ali's going to hit one down long on like he did in 2018. It's just going to stay inside the rope, and the pressure's going to start to build. And Scotland are going to get through England and win by a couple of runs. And if that happens, that would be lovely. But on the other hand, having watched England against Pakistan, I'm also terrified of what England could do on the day. If England play their best game, Scotland will be majorly up against it. I'm just hoping that England have a slow start to the tournament and we catch them early. But we'll be looking forward to the match. And I appreciate you coming on. We're going to actually be doing, going to be slight colleagues as you're doing some work with the BBC or covering the World Cup. I'll be covering Scotland, England tomorrow down at lovely Salford. And hopefully Scotland and England qualify and we get to work together maybe at some point.
Yeah, mate, fingers crossed. That'd be great, wouldn't it? Scotland beat Australia, go through ahead of Australia. That'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? England and Scotland go through. Then we actually might work together. I haven't got any Scotland games in the diary for BBC yet, but I've got some Super 8 games in. So if Scotland go through, yeah, you never know. I'd love to work with you, mate. That'd be good. Yeah, it'd be a great story. I'm one of those England fans who, I support Scotland and Ireland when they're playing, other than against England. I want them to go through. I think it's more fun when you've got the home nations going as late as possible. And then obviously the added bonus would be you guys beating the Aussies to go through. That'd be perfect.
You'll love us for that. You'll love us for that if that's how it all pans out. Listen, it's been a pleasure, my friend. Enjoy the rest of the tournament. Enjoy your first game, PNG against Uganda. I hope it's an absolute thriller. And you get as much excitement as come from some of these first couple of fixtures. And yeah, let's chat again maybe at some point during the tournament. But thanks again for your time.
Pleasure, Kazim. Loved it. Thank you.